I got it! Now, contrary to most books that I buy, I tend to know pretty much exactly what they're about before getting them, whereas this one, I kind of have no idea what I'm going into. I think it's about two brothers, but aside from that, I literally have no idea. Since I've read all of Sally Rooney's other books, I kind of know what to expect, but at the same time, I don't, because obviously, haven't read this book, don't really know anything about it. Is that a sticker? It's one of those occasions where thankfully I live in the UK because the US cover is really not giving a lot. Whereas this one, I quite like. Shall we read the synopsis? Aside from the fact that they are brothers, I was right. Peter and Ivan Kubek seem to have little in common. I have no idea whether I pronounced that right. Peter is a Dublin lawyer in his 30s, successful, competent, and apparently unassailable. But in the wake of their father's death, he's medicating himself to sleep, and struggling to manage his relationships with two very different women. His enduring first love Sylvia and Naomi, a college student for whom life is one long joke. Here we go. Ivan is a 22-year-old competitive chess player. He has always seen himself as socially awkward, a loner, the antithesis of his glib elder brother. Now, in the early weeks of his bereavement, Ivan meets Margaret, an older woman emerging from her turbulent past, and their lives become rapidly and intensely intertwined. Yes, it's sounding very typically Sally Rooney. Let's give it a read, shall we? Really? Aha! I read the first chapter, and yikes. There are so many run-on sentences, and I personally am just not a fan. I get it's to show the repetitive slog of this man's life, but it's just not a good reading experience. And I swear, if this continues... Maybe me liking Sally Rooney books was just a phase. Maybe I'm a completely different person to who I wasn't back in 2022. I guess we keep reading, right? Before we go any further into this video, I feel like I should give you the background reading on my relationship to Sally Rooney's books. Just so you're aware, because I feel like everyone has a very different opinion of her. It tends to be fairly black and white, like some people absolutely love her books and some people don't. I've seen less opinions that are sort of in the middle. Personally for me, I've liked 2 out of the 3 books that I've read by her. And interestingly enough, her most famous one, Normal People, is the one that actively did very little for me. I thought it was a very surface level book. Whereas Beautiful World, Where Are You? And Conversations with Friends, I thought personally were very good, especially Conversations with Friends, which I really feel like I read that book at the right time in my life. Because I did feel like I could relate to the main character, for better or for worse, because I do not believe she's a particularly good person. So my ranking would definitely be Conversations with Friends, Beautiful World, Where Are You? And Normal People. I definitely wouldn't describe myself as like a Sally Rooney fan. I like most of her books, but my experience with Normal People has definitely made me a little bit more cautious going into this book because I don't know whether my like for her books is just a phase or not. Oh my goodness, it's so cold. I don't know what it is, but the second it became September, it's just been really cold where I live. Because normally, like, the first week of September, it's quite warm. I mean, last year it was like 34 degrees. I think the hottest day of the year was the 8th of September, which you wouldn't expect, but does happen. Before I go on a massive tangent about the weather, I mean, I am British. What do you expect? I have like a little bit of an update about Intermezzo. So I read about 50 pages last night. Not that much because I was doing other things. I don't really know what I think so far. I mean, it's not blowing me away. It's not great, but I'm not hating it either. I'm just hoping it picks up a little bit, because it feels like it should be more profound and it should be having more of an impact on me than it is, and I really hope this just does not continue, because allegedly, according to my dad, it's meant to be quite a good one. I'm not getting that so far. Please change. My goodness. I don't want another mediocre book. Like, please. Please save me from the mediocre books. I'm having last night's dinner for lunch, and it has fallen into this bowl so well. It feels like so separated and everything. Like, the pasta and the sauce are completely separated, which is really strange, but also kind of cool. Anyway, I'm gonna shove this in the microwave for a couple of minutes and just pray it cooks. This is actually not bad, although I did have to put it in the microwave twice. Hello. I have no idea when I last spoke to you, probably at some point yesterday. Oh, I've got to get a new charger. Ugh, that's an expense I don't want to carry out. I remember when I thought being an adult meant having more independence, and like, sure, there is that, but you also have to just spend loads of money on things, and like, quite honestly, I just don't want to. I have come to a sort of conclusion about this book. It kind of feels like if you fed AI all of Sally Rooney's books and then asked it to churn out another one, I feel like it would be this book. And yes, that is kind of offensive considering Sally Rooney did actually write this book, I think. But honestly, that is kind of what it feels like. I mean, ultimately, it's like there's no point. There's no reason why we're there. I know there doesn't have to be a reason, but personally I like there being some sort of reason why someone's telling the story, because I knew why she was telling the story that she was telling in Beautiful World, Where Are You? I know why she was telling the story she was trying to tell in Conversations with Friends, although that may just be because I related to the characters. And even in Normal People, which I didn't particularly like, I still felt like there was a reason why we were there. This, I'm struggling to pick out why we're here, and I'm trying not to get into that existential way of thinking, because I know that's just going to ruin my experience of this book, but I would like there to be a point, you know? It is thankfully eliciting quite a specific feeling, which is nice, and I have found one thing so far that I have wanted to tab, even though I am now steadily approaching the halfway mark of the book. Why is this her longest book when we could have had 30 more pages of Conversations with Friends? I do not know. I just feel like a Sally Rooney book shouldn't be longer than about 350 pages, personally. Because I'd just like to know why this is 440 pages. Like, did she have an editor? What's going on? I'll let you know. Whoops. What do you think I'm going to say? I've got my phone's microphone to record the audio because I feel like we're going to be here a while, and I don't want you to be put through the crackly audio that this camera creates, because I still haven't found the time to order myself a microphone. Bad YouTuber. Like, I don't even know if I want to talk about this. In some ways, I really don't want to talk about this. But I'm going to, because I've read multiple posts where people say that this is one of the best books they've read this year, that this is their favourite Sally Rooney, and I'm just thinking, where? Where is that level of praise coming from? Because this was not that good. Sure, it's written pretty well, aside from the run-on sentences, which really did start to bother me. There were various points where I thought that it could have worked, but the problem I had was just, I didn't find these characters interesting. And personally, I'm fine with not necessarily liking the characters in a book or relating to them, although that helps. All I need is to just be interested by the characters. And I didn't. I really didn't find these people interesting. It probably doesn't help that I can't really tell you much about them, apart from the fact that Peter's a lawyer and Ivan's a chess player, and Naomi is a 20-something-year-old student, and Margaret, I think her name is like too old for Ivan because she's like 36 or something. That's it. And I spent like 440 pages and several hours of my life with these people, and yeah, I don't feel like I know them. Failure of the book, I'm afraid. I don't know if this is just a case of Sally Rooney is so popular, her publishers kind of just let her do what she wants, because this book really needed an editor. If it was cut down by 100 pages, I still feel like we would have probably had the same book. Maybe then the character work would have needed to be better, because it was shorter. Although, even when it was longer, we still had no substantial character work, which is literally the most important thing about a book that has no plot. Let me go back for a second to my AI comments. I feel like this is what you would get if you stuck all of Sally Rooney's books into a blender and then just churned it, and it's a Sally Rooney smoothie basically. But I wanted the new fruit. I wanted to taste something new. And what I got was just a mix of all the old stuff, but worse, with worse character work, and 2 quotes that I highlighted. And I was surprised that I even liked these 2 quotes, because I was just reading a fairly dull passage, and then I just read this really good quote, and I was like, what? Where did that come from? Because the whole book I was just thinking, maybe in a parallel universe I would have highlighted that quote, but we were not in that universe. This is my least favourite book by Sally Rooney. It's worse than Normal People. I just looked, I tabbed more things when I reread Normal People this year. I feel like I wasted my time, and I know somebody's gonna say, why didn't you just give up? Why didn't you just DNF? I truly thought it would get better, but really, I was just looking at secondary school because I thought that would get better, and it did not. Not to bring up my trauma or anything. I'm sure somebody is interested as to what rating I'm gonna give this, considering I liked it less than Normal People. Probably a 2, if I'm honest. 2.5, because I think it was well written. But aside from that, and I do think that it had potential, it just wasn't the right recipe. I think my dad wants to read this, so I'm gonna give it to him and see what he thinks, but honestly, it's a no from me. And I'm sure I'm gonna see this on people's best of the year lists, and I'm just gonna be like, why? Like, truly, why? Oh well, I guess. Thank you very much for watching this video, even though it did not go to plan. Let me know if you personally enjoyed this book, or if you didn't, just let me know if you read it. Otherwise, comment one of those, like, I'm sure there's a chess emoji somewhere, like, kicking about. Comment that. I hope you have enjoyed watching me waste my time on more mediocre books, and hopefully I'll see you in my next video. Goodbye.